Dune is not an easy book to transfer to the cinema. Essentially, it is too expository through the dialogue and the thinking of the characters, rather than the actions. Descriptions are rare, with the exception of small moments in which Frank Herbert goes to the trouble of specifically describing minute details, some specific situation, or a character with a very determined purpose, usually to advance an idea or a line of thought and action, or because the detail has plot implications. Dune is also complex in terminologies, concepts, and ideas. Mix of religions, ecology, philosophy, and approaches to governance, power and leadership, making the book a real puzzle when it comes to bringing it to the screen. But Denis Villeneuve is not new when it comes to tackling complex projects. He already did it in Arrival and faced it in Blade Runner 2049. He is, essentially, an artist of the image. I have always said that, many times, to appreciate the quality of a filmmaker, it is best to remove the voice from an essential scene and try to understand what the filmmaker tells us in it. If we manage to know what happens without the help of the voice, then we are in the presence of a great director. Villeneuve is one of the few who today manages to pass this test. I call it the Hitchcock test, because the Brit was a master in that department. He always said that cinema was essentially image. And it is. Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 are pure cinema, as Hitchcock requested for himself, and Dune seems to be too, at least I hope so. I've seen both trailers for Dune multiple times, many times. I never tire of seeing them, because I am a great admirer of a true work of art that has become one of the canons of literature, not only of science fiction literature, but of literature in general. The first trailer was aimed primarily at fans of the book, by Frank Herbert, a wink to say, hey, people, here's what you guys expect, a true adaptation to the spirit of Herbert. And works. The second is more of a marketing sort of trailer to attract the widest public, especially those who do not read, are not used to watching science fiction, and with special attention, those who do not like the purest and hardest genre, that one full of speculation, philosophy, and ideas. And it works too, at that level. So, what's my problem with what I've seen? I am essentially a reader, rather than a consumer of cinema, or, at least, not a consumer of Hollywood cinema, this one of the big budget productions and superheroes, style Spider-Man, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Black Panther. Sorry for those who go out of their way for them, but that's the byproduct of an industry in which McDonald's canned cinema has become mainstream. Unfortunately, what produced films like Star Wars, to cite just one example, was the tendency to do childish cinema of ideas and concepts, of speculation and questioning of society, which is the core of the Frank Herbert science fiction canons. Since then, we have seen the childish industry flourish. Films cannot be complex, childish plots, heroes, superheroes, clear and simple dialogues, very fast-paced movies, all in search of easy entertainment. There is nothing wrong with pure entertainment. The bad thing is that absolutely everything should be pure entertainment. With regard to the length of a film, sometimes I wonder why the public goes to the cinema if not to enjoy the fullness of a plot and an artistic product, to be immersed in a story and enjoy it. But the Westerner, mainly the American public, is more used to a McDonald's hamburger than a good gourmet dish. Sit down, eat something and run elsewhere. That is the simple American philosophy. Denis Villeneuve has made great productions lately, and he has done them well, so it is expected that he will do it this time as well. But the French-Canadian director is not your typical American filmmaker. He is not a McDonald filmmaker, so to speak, but a gourmet filmmaker. Let's use that simile. In Dune we are in the presence of a stellar cast, a spectacular cinematography, fantastic music, a script that seems to be faithful to the source material, but at the same time with enough elements to make it digestible by the McDonald public. At least that's the impression I get from watching the trailers. It is not a criticism, but it is evident that Villeneuve has tried to make an approachable, but complex product at the same time. Regarding the cast, I think it's perfect, even though I have some hesitations about some of them. In my opinion, the two most perfect are Timothée Chalamet and Oscar Isaac. Chalamet is Paul, there is nothing to add to this, he was born to be Paul Atreides. And Oscar Isaac, with that beard, is the perfect image of Duke Leto, without a doubt. I don't know Rebecca Ferguson, but from what I've seen she seems like a perfect fit, in the same way as Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin. Batista is almost repeating what I have seen him doing in all Villeneuve's productions, but he is a perfect fit for the Beast. Stellan Skarsgård is an excellent actor and, at least for me, the only one who today can give life to such a monstrous character as the Baron. There are actors whose work I do not know, but at least in the trailers I like their image, such as Charlotte Rampling and David Dastmalchian. I think I have seen Dastmalchian in other Villeneuve films. I've never seen Chen Cheng, so I cannot comment on it, and in the two trailers you only see two very brief little moments. The same goes for Sharon Duncan Brewster. So, I reserve my opinion for when I will watch the movie. About the change of Liet Kynes, I have no problem. Her sexuality and race have no relevance in the story, so all that feudal controversy about the change of sex and race of the character is pure nonsense, banality of the current society in which we live. The two castings that present problems for me are those of Jason Momoa and Zendaya. Let's start with Zendaya. Let me make it clear that when it comes to image, Zendaya is a perfect casting. Especially when we see how the Fremen are portrayed, and with the casting of Bardem and the actor who plays Jamies, selecting Zendaya makes sense. If we remember the Lynch film, the Fremen were a group of individuals without faces and with almost nothing to add to the story, as an indigenous civilization of Iraqis. With Villeneuve it seems we return to Herbert, where the Fremen are the center of the conflict. Thank God, we return to the source material. The problem I have with Zendaya is when I hear her narrate the introduction of the trailer, and in the little scene with Chalamet. She sounds like Zendaya. I mean, when an actor sounds like himself, and not the character, there is something that is not working. I can understand her casting, because she looks fantastic in the role, but his voice spoils the experience for me. Let me clarify, however, to do justice, that an introductory monologue, where a story is told is not, precisely, the best way to assess the work of an actor. So, I will leave a margin for her to pleasantly surprise me in the film. A more troublesome case is Jason Momoa. I mean, Jason Momoa plays Duncan Idaho who plays Jason Momoa. And in the last trailer this peculiarity is seen with too much evidence. God, Momoa always sounds and looks the same. Let me make it very clear. Momoa is the perfect casting when it comes to facing Duncan Idaho, at least in the first book. I would question his casting as Duncan Idaho in Dune Messiah a lot. In the first book, Duncan is the sword master and assassin of House Atreides, and his job is to train Paul and be the fierce fighter we see in the trailers. All that is okay. The problem with Momoa is that it doesn't show anything new, it is the repetition of himself, with his screams, his gestures and his archly recognized mannerisms. I was hoping that Villeneuve would change this a little. But I don't think he made it, and every time I see Momoa I just try to grit my teeth and let it go. That image of a fierce and brute fighter that he has always portrayed in all of his films does not leave my mind and it ruins the experience. Even in the exchange between Paul and Momoa, Momoa continues to be the well-known Momoa. God Almighty. It may be my problem, and not Momoa's. But please, could someone give Jason Momoa a dramatic role to prove that he can do something different? Anyway, this is what I have to say regarding the cast. The rest, well, like almost everything about Denis is perfect. Incredible, fantastic music from Hans Zimmer, as expected. A spectacular cinematography, a production that goes to the smallest detail. Just look at the wood paneling in the room where Paul trains, or the detail of the burning palm trees from the first trailer. Great costume design, and good acting overall, from what you can see in the trailers. There is a detail that catches my attention. Rebecca Ferguson and Oscar Isaac speak with a British accent, but Chalamet has an American accent, like Josh Brolin. Those who have read the book know that Gurney is the father figure in Paul's life, rather than his own father, very busy with questions of government. How much was this a Villeneuve choice, or just pure chance? One last detail in this new trailer, I don't like its length, nor the final scene with Paul. The rhythm in the trailer is constantly ascending until the climax, yes, but there comes a time that its extension tires. And Paul's face in the penultimate frame, Battlefield, is looking too CGI to me. Maybe I'm wrong and the actor took some shots with that armor and then they made the whole sequence with CGI. The other thing is the armor itself, which it is never referenced in the book. The sequence could be part of Paul's prescience. It is quite possible as a form of flash-forward that Paul has when he sees his future in Arrakis, but what it looks like CGI breaks all the illusion of the scene. Compared to the rest of the special effects, this one is too artificial and obvious. It should not be there. And here I come to what may be my most controversial conclusion. If the first trailer had the music of Hans Zimmer, instead of the arrangement of Pink Floyd, I would stick with that one, and not with this kind of image puzzle. Yes, it adds new images, and a new vision, but it is pure marketing. I understand, I applaud the decision to sell the product, but I don't think it responds to Villeneuve's artistic stature. It's sad that a great director has to go to this length to put what it looks as a masterpiece, as mainstream in cinema. But that's how we are in today's cinema. I know, and I'm sorry, but I don't like it. It is dangerous to get used to the childishness of cinema as art.